This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Well, it's great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance. By the way, if you've not checked out our website recently, we'd love for you to do that. The wealth of content, articles, podcasts, and videos there to help you be a wise and faithful steward of God's money is incredible. You'll find it all at faithfi.com. You can visit that on your smartphone or on your desktop. Again, faithfi.com. Just click the content button. Again, it's all at faithfi.com. All right, let's head back to the phones. To Indiana we go. And Greg, you're up next. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have got a stepson that's incarcerated and will be for at least 10 years or more probably. And he didn't won, it was like a settlement that they had. And so he sent us $9,000 that he wants us to do something with. I just want to know what the best thing I should do with it is. And we do have a financial advisor that my wife and I have our money in. But I know $9,000 isn't a large sum of money, but I want to make sure he has access to it. And I'm 70, so I might not be alive when he gets out. But so I want to make sure he has access to it. And then what is the best return that he would get in like a 10-year period?
Yeah. Interesting. So the time horizon is 10 years. The amount is $9,000. And are you willing to take some risk with it? Like if it lost value between now and the end of the 10 years, would that be concerning to you?
It might be concerning to him. I really don't know for sure if he's willing to risk that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting we throw it all in Tesla or anything, but what I'm saying is anytime we're investing in stocks and bonds, there is the risk of loss. And so could it be down? Absolutely. Which means it could dip below 9,000. So I think that's one of the keys. I mean, you've defined the amount, you've defined the time horizon. As long as you've got at least 10 years, 5 at a minimum, but I really like 10, I think stocks and bonds should be considered. But there is the potential for loss. And so if you want something that really is secure, you'd either need to do maybe a 10-year bond, and that would be guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. You'd probably get around 4% a year, and you'd be guaranteed that at the end of the 10 years that you get your money back plus interest. So that could be an option. The other option is probably an annuity, I guess. But, there you are going to have some lockup periods, but it sounds like that's okay. The goal would just be, where do I get the best guaranteed rate of return? High yield savings is going to be coming down with interest rates. CDs, the best you're going to get right now for a pretty attractive return is about 3 years, and then you're probably going to have to roll it over at a lower rate. So the way you'd get a better rate of return with as much safety as possible over a decade without taking any risk would probably be a 10-year treasury bond or an annuity.
Okay. And I already have a Treasury Direct account, so I mean, I assume I would need to set that up for him, and there wouldn't be any problem for him having access to that or anything when he would get out.
No, you could make him the beneficiary. Are you able to set it up in his name?
I don't know why not.
Yeah. So yeah, you could just go ahead and open it in his name. I mean, a UST bond right now is paying just over 4% a year, and you could hold to maturity.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We appreciate your call. All the best to you, and call anytime. Let's go to Kansas. Hi, Kathy. How can I help?
Hi, Rob. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I am a 75-year-old widow of about 10 years. We have 3 daughters, and I own the home and my car, and I have an IRA with a Kingdom Advisor, and have about $105,000 there, and I have about $55,000 in stocks with Wells Fargo, and I just want to make sure I have a deed on death for the house to go to the 3 daughters, and then I have them listed as transfer on death on the car, and then as beneficiaries on the IRA and the stock. I just wondered, is there anything else I should be doing to protect giving them what I have when I pass?
Well, Kathy, you're doing a fabulous job. I'm really impressed, and I'm grateful that you shared all that background. Well done. No, I mean, I think the only other thing that I haven't heard is just making sure you have a good handle on your spending, that you've got an emergency fund, that you have a will to kind of catch everything else that's not covered by a TOD or a beneficiary, like your personal effects and furniture and that kind of thing, and then making sure you have everything where the girls or your kids know where to get it, so they know how to access the accounts, and they've got copies of the IRAs, and they know who the advisor is, all in one place. And then you also want to make sure you have a healthcare surrogate and a durable power of attorney if you're incapacitated, so they can make financial, legal, and medical decisions for you. And then finally a living will, so you can make end-of-life decisions, and then maybe some funeral planning. But apart from that, it sounds like you're in really great shape.
That's good. We have, our will is a long time ago, which we made just so that when our girls were little, that they would go to who they would go to if we passed, the 2 of us. So I really don't have anything else. But the household items and stuff, can't they just be distributed without any will or anything like that?
Well, it'd probably be good just to update that will. I mean, you want the trustee, or not the trustee, but the executor to make that decision. And it's just nice if it's clear who gets what, and that way they're not having to decide after the fact. So I think that might be something to think about. But apart from that, I think you're in really good shape. I'm going to send you 2 things that I think will be a blessing to you, just as our gift to you. One will be a book called Wise Women Managing Money. It's by our friend Miriam Neff. When her husband passed away, she wrote this book for widows, specifically around money management, just to be a blessing and an encouragement to folks in her situation and yours. And then secondly is a resource from our friends at Compass, and it's called Setting Your House in Order, and it'll give you a template to think about just how you communicate with your kids. If you haven't thought about everything, it'll give you kind of a running list of everything you need to consider. Is that helpful?
That's great. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. We'll get that in the mail to you, Kathy. You stay on the line. We'll get your information, and we'll send that right out to you. Setting Your House in Order and Wise Women Managing Money.
Appreciate it.
All right. God bless you. Thanks for calling today. Well, folks, we're going to take another break here in just a second. I had the opportunity to speak earlier today, and just to share some observations I have here at having hosted this program now for more than 5 years. And you know what? One of the big takeaways that I have is just that what a privilege it is to manage God's money. And together, we all just want to be found faithful. We want to honor the Lord with what we have. And the best way to do that is really just to understand the heart of God, which means we need to be in relationship with Him. We need to be in His Word. And boy, He's got so much to say on this topic of money and money management. It has nothing to do with what He wants from us. He doesn't need anything from us. He owns it all. It's because of what He wants for us. He doesn't want money to compete with our hearts. He wants us to be in a thriving relationship with Him where He's our ultimate treasure. And so we can bring Him glory and enjoy His creation, including money. What a great opportunity. We'll be right back. Our thanks to Certified Kingdom Advisor Wade Chessman, President and Wealth Advisor, and his team at Chessman Wealth Strategies in Dallas for their support of faith and finance. Their goal is to help their clients expand their understanding of biblical financial principles and how to implement them. The website is chessmanwealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Hello, I'm Don Hawkins, here to tell you about Encouragement Live. 55 minutes of industrial strength radio encouragement featuring resourceful guests, plus practical biblical insights to help you face life's challenges. We'll be taking your phone calls, so plan to join us for Encouragement Live. Saturdays at 7:05 p.m. Central, 8:05 p.m. Eastern, here on American Family Radio.
We're grateful for support from Movement Mortgage, who provides residential home loans in all 50 states. Guided by a mission to love and value people and a goal to redefine the mortgage process, Movement seeks to help others achieve their financial goals. You can find out more at movement.com/faith. Movement Mortgage LLC supports equal housing opportunity, NMLS number 39179. For licensing information, please visit nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
If the heavy burden of debt is robbing you of freedom and peace of mind, Christian Credit Counselors can help. We're a nationwide nonprofit credit counseling organization that has helped over 300,000 individuals in the last 27 years get out of credit card debt 80% faster while honoring that debt in full. To learn how Christian Credit Counselors can help you, visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org. That's ChristianCreditCounselors.org, or call 800-557-1985.
I'm grateful to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. Sit back and enjoy. We're going to cover a lot of ground here in our final segment. We'll get to as many calls as we can. Let's go to Oklahoma. Hi, Sam. How can I help?
Yes, I'm 38 years old and I have a 401k and I would like to try to retire at 55 years old. So if I work 20 years with my current company, do you think that that's a feasible goal, or do you think I need to work longer?
Well, it all depends upon how much you have in there right now and what it could grow to and how much you're going to need in retirement in terms of income from this 401k alongside whatever other income sources you'll have, like Social Security or anything else. So what do you have in that 401k right now?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I've had a 401k since I was 13, and I always rolled it over to every job that I've had. So I'm not 100% sure what I have in there, but since I was 16, I've had one.
All right, what would you guess is in there?
As of right now, I don't know, 400,000 maybe.
Okay, let's say 400,000. And how much are you adding a year, do you know?
My company matches 5%, but I put in at least 10% of my check every week. So I make about $3,000 a week, so I put in about $300, and they match up to 5%.
Okay, so if you're putting in 10, they're matching 5, so that's $450 a week. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's another $23,000 or so a year. So let's say you've got 400,000, you're adding 23,000 a year. That for 20 years at, let's just say 7%, let's say pretty conservative. That would be about $2.5 million. If you have 400,000 today and you add 23,000 a year at 7% rate of return for 20 years, that'd be about $2.5 million. So if let's say it grew to $2.5 million, I'd be comfortable with you pulling 100,000 a year, and really over time probably never seeing that principal balance decline, and that would be on top of Social Security, which could throw as much as $2,000, $2,500 a month, and it's going to grow with inflation. What are you living on today? How much roughly?
I make $7,000 to $10,000 a month, and because I drive a truck for a living, so
Yeah.
I live in my truck, so I don't really spend too much money.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like to me you're living modestly. If in fact you have a good 400,000 saved, and if in fact you're putting, somewhere between 20 and 23,000 a year, you're probably going to find that you're on track to over accumulate. So it may be worth you sitting with an advisor to define a finish line and just say, how much is enough? How much do I really need to accumulate? Could be that you could back off what you're putting in now and accelerate your giving, or maybe you want to reach your goal quicker, whatever that goal is, and then you cap your lifestyle and your savings. But however however you go about that, it sounds like you're on a great path to having all that you need and then some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel
All
like
right.
in retirement you could live on 100,000, the equivalent of 100,000 a year plus Social Security, if you just continue doing what you're doing, you're probably, going to be able to do that without any trouble. So, hey, keep up the good work, Sam. If we can help you further, don't hesitate to call. And if you want to connect with an advisor to do some retirement planning, just go to our website, faithfi.com, click Find a Professional, and you can visit with a CK there in Oklahoma or perhaps somewhere on your route. Hey, thanks for being on the program. Let's go to Indiana, WGNR. Hi, Chris. Go ahead.
Hi, Rob. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, I was going to ask about two different kinds of annuities, but I heard you talk about them earlier and you don't really like them. What my husband and I are looking for, we're 3 years from retirement, house paid for. We've got about $700,000 in stocks and ETFs and things like that, and plus some other smaller funds and reserve funds. I mean, so we're doing great. What we'd like to do is take about 100,000. That's what we're thinking about, to put it into a more protective kind of product to get a little bit more balanced portfolio, especially as we enter retirement, a little less risk on our plate. So, and that's why we were thinking about either, we have two different advisors we work with, but one recommended a variable annuity, but my husband doesn't like the fees. They're pretty steep. And then the other one recommended a structured annuity, and then I was looking myself at a fixed indexed annuity. But just trying to figure out what would be a more conservative, protective type of thing to do with some of our portfolio.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I mean, you've got a number of options. I mean, so I think one option is you have your current advisor take whatever that portion is that you're wanting to get more conservative with and move it into fixed income type investments. Even though the price of these, let's say bonds, whether they're corporate or government, even though they can move around, you can lock in that yield. And if you buy individual bonds, not just a mutual fund, you can hold them to maturity, and you're always going to get your face value back plus whatever the coupon is, the yield. So that's one option, and that's going to, even though there's risk there, it's going to be lower risk, but you still have access to the money, and you don't have quite as much in the way of fees. The other option is, CDs, but those aren't terribly attractive, and they're because you could, even though you get a good, nice rate today, you could probably only lock it in for 3 years. So that's where annuities, I think, can be an option if you really are looking for safety. Then that's the way to go. And there are plenty of flavors of annuity. You can do the variable, you can do the fixed, you can even do the structured, which gets a little bit more complicated with structured annuities. But they all are going to share this idea of upside potential with downside protection. Well, what are you giving up to get that downside protection? You're giving up complexity because they are complicated. You're giving up fees, which your husband pointed out. They tend to be somewhat expensive, and you're giving up the upside potential. But if you're okay with that, then an annuity is a way to get a better than average rate of return with that downside protection, and that may mean that this is the very best option for you. And so I would just get each of your advisors to recommend what they think is the very best product for you and evaluate them, and you and your husband decide which one you think is the best fit. I'm not anti-annuity. I just want to make sure you understand why you're getting an annuity, and if your ultimate objective is better than average return, downside protection, the annuity is probably the best way to do that.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Ma'am.
Yes.
You're very welcome, Chris. Lord bless you. Let's go to Sherry in Wisconsin. Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I was just wondering about an irrevocable trust. I have an irrevocable trust that is about 20 years old, and there is some changes that I need made. To be quite frank, have someone's name taken out of it. How is that possible, or how do I do that?
And it is an irrevocable trust, not a revocable trust. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it's not easy. So and I'm not an attorney, so you're going to want to go talk to an attorney who can look at your specific trust and the situation. The whole purpose of an irrevocable trust is it's designed to be unchanged once it's established. However, there's always a however, under certain conditions, it may be possible to either modify it or terminate it. In your case, you want to modify it. It depends on the laws of your state, the terms of the trust, and the circumstances. Some irrevocable trusts have built-in provisions that would be called a trustee's power of modification or a protector clause, and that allows certain modifications if specific conditions are met. You just have to see whether your trust has that. In some cases, the trust protector is a third party that's designated to amend it or make changes. In some cases, with unanimous consent of the beneficiaries, they may allow changes, although if you're removing somebody, you're probably not going to be able to get unanimous consent. In other cases, a court approval may be required in addition to beneficiary consent. You can work through the court and try to get them to change it if the trust's purpose has become impossible or impractical to achieve. Those would be the types of things. So the first step is always to review the trust documents, see if there's any provisions that allow for modification. The second would be to consult a trust attorney who can look it over, and then if necessary, you would petition the court.
Okay, and so if it was possible that it was modified, does that then change the date on it, or does the date stay the same and just the modification is changed?
Yeah, again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to give legal advice, but generally speaking, my understanding is you would have the original trust date intact, but then you'd have a modification date, so you'd essentially have 2 days.
All right, that answers my question.
All right, but I think it's always good to get legal advice here, so I think your next step, other than just kind of pulling it out and seeing what you can see in the trust docs, is to go visit with that attorney who can look it over in light of your state, in light of your trust, tell you exactly what you need to know about dates and modifications and all the rest of it. So thank you for calling, though, Sherry. Lord bless you. Hey, if you needed a state attorney, you could get a referral from a CKA on our website, faithfi.com. So with that, let me say thanks. Thankful for Sandy and Taylor and Devin. Everybody here at FaithFi certainly couldn't do this without them and without each of you listening and calling. So thanks for being a part of the broadcast today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG Greenville, Dallas.
The AFR app, you probably think about your smartphone. We do have apps for Apple and Android users, but it doesn't stop there. If you have an Alexa, we've got you covered. But wait, there's more. Sorry, there's also an AFR app for Roku or Apple TV. So many ways you can listen to your favorite show, podcast, or music. Find out more at afr.net/apps.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. A major ceasefire has been struck between Israel and Hamas after much pressure by the United States and France. Benjamin Hall with more in London.
The terms of the ceasefire are as follows. There is a 60-day truce. Israeli troops will withdraw and Hezbollah troops will pull north. The monitoring will be done by the UN and the Lebanese army, and Israel has the right to defend itself if Hezbollah breaches the agreement. Hezbollah have agreed to pull north of the Litani River, that's 18 miles from Israel, which is the same agreement they reached back in 2006. Critics, however, are saying that back then they didn't abide by it, they spent the time rearming, so shouldn't Israel finish off Hezbollah now?
Texas Governor Greg Abbott and President-elect Donald Trump's pick for the nation's board czar Tom Homan traveling to Edinburgh, Texas, serving Thanksgiving meals to members of the Texas National Guard and Texas Department of Public Safety. to celebrate their work handling migration at the southern border. The Republican governor says the illegal migration is hurting the U.S.
This is an unprecedented attack on our country from across our very own border, from the very top of the levels of government to the streets of the people in the Rio Grande Valley, up to the Corpus area, to Houston, to Dallas, and across the state. And that is how much our fellow Texans appreciate you.
Holman throwing blame at the Biden administration for the surge in illegal crossings and says President-elect Donald Trump will fix the problems at the border.
I'm happy that we finally got a president. President Trump's going to come in January. Like the governor says, we're not waiting till January. We're already talking. We're already planning. We're going to put a plan in place and secure this nation at the highest level it's ever seen. We're going to finish Trump's work.
President-elect Donald Trump will go back to the White House for a second term on January 20th, Inauguration Day, promising loads of Day One acts, including raising higher tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. RNC co-chair Laura Trump says the tariff policy would make life better for Americans.
To get companies to actually invest here in America, to, obviously get American jobs back up and running, that's going to be a good thing for this country, and we're not going to be ripped off by China.
California Governor Gavin Newsom vowing to implement an electric vehicle rebate program if President-elect Trump scraps President Biden's EV tax credit. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy criticizing that move.
Government does not know better than private markets. Governor Newsom does not know better than private markets. Joe Biden does not know better than private markets. We need to get rid of the mandates. We need to get rid of the subsidies, go back to a consumer-driven free enterprise system.
Veteran reporter Catherine Herridge is blowing the whistle on her former network, CBS, in its blatant political bias. Steve Jordahl reports.
Catherine Herridge, the longtime and well-respected Fox News reporter, went to CBS News in 2019 and soon became one of its few journalists who practice objective reporting. Herridge was laid off in February and has since continued her groundbreaking investigation.